Hey everyone, welcome back to Legacy Politics. We are at 34 subscribers. Can we get to 40 by the end of the month? Hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and subscribe to this channel to help me get to 40 subscribers by the end of the month. Today we're going to be going through the best case scenarios for both candidates in the 2020 election, both for Donald Trump and Joe Biden. So we're going to start with Joe Biden today, and we're going to look at his map. We're going to switch over to the map here. As you can see, I have all of the safe states already filled out, so we don't have to waste any time with those. And you might be looking here at Montana and Mississippi and be saying, wait a minute, those are not safe for Donald Trump? And I'll be explaining that in a minute. So let's just start on the left here, going left to right. And we'll start for the best case scenario for Joe Biden. In Nevada, I think that Biden would win likely in Nevada in a best case scenario. I think that a lot of Bernie bros would come out and vote for Joe Biden. I think that Donald Trump couldn't rally his supporters there. A lot of Democrats would come out and vote for Joe Biden in a best case scenario. And in Arizona, a key swing state in the election, I think Biden would win it by 2 or 3 points, and it'd be a lean Democrat column in a best case scenario. I think that they would finally go over that threshold of 48%, and knock off the Republicans in Arizona in a best case scenario. I think you'd have a lot of Democratic turnout. You would have poor Republican turnout and probably some Republicans voting for Biden in that scenario. Now, looking at New Mexico and Colorado in a best case scenario for Joe Biden, I think both of these states would be solid Democrat in a best case scenario. I don't think Trump would even go under 9 or under 10 if it was a best case scenario, if the Democrats really pulled in some great enthusiasm behind their candidate. In Montana, the state that everybody is looking at me going, what are you doing? Montana, I think that Trump would win it by less than 10, so it wouldn't be a solid state in a best case scenario for Democrats. They're seeing some great polling for Democrats in the Senate races in Montana, and a lot of Democratic turnout would help the Democrats not make Montana a likely state. Trump would still win it, but Biden would make it not a solid state. Now, Texas, I think in a best case scenario, most people would say Biden would win Texas. I really don't see any way Biden can win Texas, even in a best case scenario. I do think that Trump would win it by roughly 1 to 2 points in a best case scenario. So that's where we're going to put it tilt R in a best case Joe Biden scenario. Mississippi, once again, just like Montana, a once solid state in the best case scenario for the Democrats. Not solid, but likely Republican. It'd be under 10 for Mississippi. You'd have a lot of black turnout in Jackson and Greenville that are going to be voting for Democrat. And I think it'd be less than 10 percentage votes for Donald Trump. Now in Georgia, I think in a best case scenario, Joe Biden probably flips the state of Georgia, where he really brings the Democratic turnout in Atlanta, and it just is too much for the Republicans to handle. And Joe Biden wins it by 1 to 2 points in Georgia. In North Carolina, I think in a best case scenario, Joe Biden would win it by roughly 4. He would bring out a ton of Democratic turnout in Charlotte, bring out a ton of Democratic turnout in places like Asheville and places such as North Carolina, like northern North Carolina, where there's a lot of Republicans, but maybe they are fed up with Donald Trump, maybe his Twitter account, I'm not sure, just bringing a lot of votes for Joe Biden in a best case scenario. In Florida, I think it's the same as North Carolina, where Joe Biden would win it by 4 to 5 points in a best-case scenario. A lot of Latino turnout in Miami, a lot of Democrat turnout in Orlando. Really just too much for the Republicans to handle in a best-case scenario. Now, as we move to Virginia, I think Virginia would be solid Democrat in a best-case scenario for Joe Biden, and there's nothing really to say against that. Then really they just increase the Democratic turnout. In Pennsylvania, I think Biden lean. If it was a best case scenario, he'd win it by 3 to 4 points because it's his home state. He'd bring out a lot of Democratic support in Pittsburgh, a lot of Democratic support in other big cities in Pennsylvania. So that's where the votes would come from. And once again, it'd just be too much for the Republicans to handle. In Michigan, in a best case scenario, it'd be Biden likely. I think Biden would win it by 7 or 8 if it was a best case scenario for Joe Biden in Michigan. Wisconsin, I think it would be lean Biden in a best case scenario. He'd win it by 4 to 8, bringing a lot of Democratic turnout in Milwaukee, bringing a lot of Democratic turnout in Madison, in a college town where Wisconsin University is, University of Wisconsin. In Minnesota, once again, it'd be lean Biden. Lean Biden, and that once again just bringing out tons of Democratic turnout in this best case scenario map for Joe Biden. Iowa, Trump in a tilt. Trump would barely win the state, probably by less than 1 point in a best case scenario. A lot of Democratic support in Des Moines. In Iowa, Nebraska's 2nd district would go to Biden by roughly 2 or 3 points in a best case scenario. New Hampshire would go to Biden in a best case scenario by 2 to 3 points. And it would really be embarrassing and really hard for the Republicans to ever come back from this. Ohio, I think, would still come to Donald Trump in a tilt scenario for a best case scenario for Joe Biden. Donald Trump's just really strengthening his base in Ohio, and it's really trending more right than it is left right now. So I don't even think Joe Biden could win it, even if it was a best case scenario. As far as Maine, the Al district would be Biden lean. Biden lean. District 1 would be Biden solid, and likely Trump for the 2nd district, because there's just a lot of Trump voters in northern Maine, and I don't think that Biden would be able to overcome that, even if it was a best case scenario. So that's what it would be if it was a best case scenario for Joe Biden winning the Electoral College 350 to 188. That would be the best case scenario for Joe Biden. And do I think this is likely? No. Do I think it's possible? Of course it's possible. Anything's possible. But this is what I would think would be a best case scenario for Joe Biden in an electoral landslide. Now let's go to the best case for Donald Trump. Let's go over here back to the safe states. As you can see, Montana and Mississippi are now safe for Donald Trump in a best case scenario. And we'll start just like we did a minute ago, going left to right. Nevada. In my last prediction, I voted that Joe Biden, in my last prediction, I voted that Donald Trump would win Nevada. I think in a best case scenario, Donald Trump would win by roughly 1 to 2 points in a best case scenario in Nevada. In Arizona, he would probably win by 3 or 4, making that a lean in Arizona. Texas would be solid Trump. Trump would win it by over 10 points in a best case scenario. Florida, same as Arizona, Trump would win it by roughly 3 to 4 points. Georgia would be likely. North Carolina would be likely. New Mexico would be tilt Democrat for a best case scenario, and Colorado would be lean Democrat in a best case scenario. For you just have a ton of turnout. Maybe the Bernie Bros don't go vote for Joe Biden, and Donald Trump just really strengthens his base in those states. Do I think he could win them? Sure, in a best case scenario, but I don't think it's likely. It would be lean Democrat in Virginia for a best case scenario, solid in Iowa. Donald Trump would win the 2nd district in Nebraska by roughly 3 to 4 points. It'd be tilt for Minnesota. Donald Trump would win Minnesota by roughly 2 to 3 points. In Pennsylvania, I would think Trump would win it by 3 in a best case scenario. Michigan, Trump by 1, because the polling in Michigan hasn't been good for Donald Trump, but I think in a best case scenario, he could probably win the state. So by 1 to 2 points, so I'm going to put that in tilt R, Minnesota and tilt R, Wisconsin, I think, would be safe Trump or lean Trump in a best case scenario. New Hampshire would be lean Trump in a best case scenario. And yeah, so it's just a lot of the same thing, just on the other side. Maine's 1st district would probably go to Biden in a lean, and Maine's 2nd district would be solid Trump in a best case scenario, and probably tilt Trump for the Al district in Maine in a best case scenario for Donald Trump, and a solid in Ohio in a best case scenario for the president. Now, a lot of people think that possibly even, and I think this is maybe just a bit of a stretch, people texting me saying that California and New York would be wouldn't be solids for the Democrats in a best case scenario for Trump. And I just don't think that's possible. I don't think Trump's going to break 10% in California. I don't think he's going to trail by 10% in California, and I don't think in New York he's going to trail by 10% either. Yes, there's a lot of Republican turnout in California. There's a lot of that in California and New York, but I just don't think it's enough to break that barrier, and that's why I believe California and New York are still going to be in the Democratic column pretty solid. So that's what it would be if Donald Trump, in its best case scenario, 328 to 210. So guys, that's it for this video. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Please comment down below on what you think the best case scenarios for both candidates would be. Comment down below on more videos you would like to see. Also, please subscribe to please follow my Twitter account at Legacy Politics and my Instagram at DimaMixon. So I hope you enjoyed this video and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much.